All right, good morning everyone. We are going to continue with the chapter of historiography, and in this we are going to discuss about the historiography or its development or the writing of history pattern in the medieval period in India. So we have already seen what has been the contributions in the ancient period. Okay, we saw that there was this Harsh Charit written by Bana Bhatta. We have excavations from the inscriptions that we have discovered from Mohenjo-daro and Harappan sites. But unfortunately, whatever was written there is still or yet to be deciphered or basically decoded. We have not been able to understand the language. We have not been able to decode the script that has been there. However, we have collected a lot of things which gives us an idea about how life was in those periods. However, the things that have been written are yet to be decoded because we do not know the language that was being used. Okay, but still again the epics Ramayana and Mahabharata also have a significant contribution to understand the ancient culture of India. Okay, so all these are basically contributing to the ancient period. However, as time went on and as we move on to the medieval period in India, okay, historians started developing their skill and their art of writing the history. Okay, so we will see the contribution of historians in the development of historiography in India, okay, during the medieval period now. So one of the first examples is Raj Tarangini. It is basically it was basically written by Kalhana in the 12th century CE. Okay, 12th century CE, and it is basically correlated to the history of Kashmir. I'm sorry. The reason we are trying to understand this is because while writing this, okay, he is quite close to the concepts of modern historiography. He clearly states that whatever he has written in this has been critically examined by him. Okay, and it is basically about the history of Kashmir. Okay, and he himself mentioned that he wrote it after critically examining the various sources of inscriptions, coins, etc., whatever was available to him. So he has himself mentioned that he, after critically examining all these things, he has compiled this. So basically this is although written in the medieval period, but this is an approach of modern historiography. Okay, critically examining the facts and the resources that are available before writing the historical narrative is one of the primary jobs of a historian. Okay, so that's what was there. Secondly, medieval historians in the courts of Muslim rulers were influenced by Arabic and Persian historians. See, medieval India was actually kind of dominated by the Mughals. Okay, the Mughals had come and they had started ruling in India. They extended their empire, and we have various rulers that were there. So obviously the historians at that point of time, okay, who were there in the courts of these Muslim rulers and kings were influenced by Arabic and Persian historians. The way history was being written in Arab and Persian countries, they were being influenced by it. So one of them was Ziauddin Barani. He had written Tariq-e-Firuz Shahi. Okay, so Tariq-e-Firuz Shahi, he has basically outlined the purpose of historiography. Okay, he believed one of the main prior to this, what used to happen is whenever there were people who were writing about history of a particular ruler, see, whatever is happening in a kingdom of a ruler or in his reign or his period were basically being documented. However, most of the scholars who were actually documenting this, which proved as a source of history for the later generations, okay, they missed on writing everything about the ruler. See, not everything can be hunky-dory, or not everything can be smooth in a particular ruler's reign or period. Okay, there will be something which is going wrong. There will be some amount of failures. See, basically a ruler rules an entire country or a region, and there are huge number of people. So will he be efficient and absolute and just in his policies? Even if his policies are best, is their execution or was their execution carried out as per their laying out? Okay, so these are things that are there. So according to him, a historian should have a non-biased approach, not a biased approach. Just singing in praise of the ruler, about his policies, about his successes, about his valor in various battles and wars. Okay, that should not be the approach. Okay, he should write about a historian should write about both the valor and policies of welfare taken by the ruler, and also his incorrect policies and failures. So every ruler tries to experiment things, every ruler tries to bring in new things, okay, and at times there are failures. Okay, so those failures should also be noted, because on the basis of those failures the future policies are implemented, the future policies are rectified, and the future policies are drafted. So those things, prior to this, historians or people who used to write about this rulers in a specific period of time used to miss on this aspect. However, according to Barani, this should also be covered. Okay, this basically gives us an idea of what were the experiments done and where their failures, what were the reasons of their failures, and where there was an attempt made by the ruler himself or his successor to rectify those things. So this is also an important aspect of history, and that's how historiography should be written. Okay, you can take a snapshot of the same. Okay, we will move on with the contribution of historians towards historiography in the medieval period. So according to Barani, as you said, as we saw in the earlier slide, that he was a person who was basically pushing historians, or he said that historians should not only write about the rulers and their kingdoms, only the positive aspects of, let's say, their successes, or let's say the policies which were successful, but also about their failures. And the failures can be in the welfare of the people, or the failures can be in some battle or war, or the failures can be in internal administration. So they should also highlight these things. Okay, or the failures can be in any new policy that was implemented. So these should the failures, the achievements and failures both should be mentioned without any biasness in the historiography, which is being written by different scholars during different rulers who were basically assisting different rulers. So according to Barani, history should not only be about the narration of achievements and failures of rulers of a certain period, but also should take into consideration the impact of the teachings of the wise, the learned, and the saints on the cultural life of people. See, more than kings, more than the ministers, the people get connected to wise people, the people get connected to saints, the people get connected to fakirs. Okay, these are the people who get, because at that point of time the bhakti cult was also trying to develop, and these wise sayings and their learnings were also of high importance, because they impacted the lives of people, they impacted the thought process of people, they impacted to a huge extent the entire culture of the people. Okay, so it is not only, according to Barani, it is not only that historians should make an attempt to understand history only from the perspective of rulers, but also from the perspective of common people, and what impact on the life of common people was made by these saints, these philosophers, or maybe these fakirs or mullahs, or whosoever was very much connected to them. Okay, so history is also about this. So during the Mughal period, custom of adding suitable poetic chords, beautiful pictures were also introduced. So while writing the books, okay, while writing the historiography during the Mughal period, praises in the songs were written, poems were written in praises of the rulers. So history started getting more beautiful because of poetic influences. There were beautiful pictures that were also introduced on those books just to illustrate how it goes. Okay, so it became an illustrative. Historiography basically now is becoming illustrative. Okay, Babur wrote Tuzuk-e Babari. Okay, Babur wrote Tuzuk-e Babari, which contains descriptions of the battles fought by him. So this was written by Babur himself, who was considered to be the founder of Mughal Empire in India. Okay, and he has written this Tuzuk-e Babari, which contains the descriptions of all the battles that were actually fought by him. He also wrote about the minute observations of various regions and cities travelled by him. So obviously he was always on a travelling mode. Before he settled down in India, he had travelled to various cities and towns, and whatever he had noticed about the lives of people, the economy, he has also mentioned that. Along with that, he has also mentioned flora. Flora means vegetation. Okay, flora means it can mean anything, right from small plants to crops to trees to jungles. All this was mentioned, or all this was he made an attempt to describe all of this in his books that he has written, or in his this Tuzuk-e-Babri that he has written. Okay, so he's not only written about the battles that he has fought, he has also written about the various economic situations in the regions that he crossed while he was traveling, and he also wrote about the flora of that place. Okay, so you can make a note of the same. Okay, again going ahead with the medieval historiography part. Okay, Abul Fazl was basically a writer in Akbar's times, and he was one of the 9 gems that he had, or rather Akbar had in his court, which included the likes of Tansen, a great singer, the likes of Birbal, one of the most intelligent people, and Abul Fazl was a historian, and he was considered as one of the 9 gems that Akbar had in his court. So he wrote Akbarnama, the method, and in which he has emphasized the method of writing historiography through authentic historical documents. So he emphasized on examining the authenticity of historical documents and their careful scrutiny. Okay, they should be carefully scrutinized before you actually present a historical narrative. Okay, devoid of bias. So there is no biasness. Whatever, as you saw, the previous historians have also highlighted, Kalhana, etc., that there should be no biasness in the presentation of history. The ruler, his achievements should be narrated along with his failures in different things. So that makes history realistic. Okay, so not everything is good and absolutely perfect or hunky-dory in a ruler's reign. So there are certain imperfections as well, and those should be also highlighted, because that can be a matter of learning experience for the previous forthcoming generations. Okay, Albert Nui, again he now we will talk about the contribution of some foreign scholars who had visited India during different time periods, and they had written different things which have contributed to the historiography. So Albert Nui in Arabic, Indian knowledge of social life, and this was written in Arabic. Foreign scholars like Hassan Nizam, he wrote Tazul Masir, Minhazi Siraj, Tabat-e Nasiri. Okay, so all these were certain documents or certain narratives which were written in different languages. Okay, accounts of foreign travelers. So there were certain foreign travelers who had visited in India, were also important, like Ibn Battuta, okay, Abdul Razak, Marco Polo, Niccolo Conti, and Barbosa and Domingos Pais. So these are basically foreign rulers who had visited India at different times, and they have recorded their observations about the various social, economic, and cultural and religious aspects of India, along with the rulers' administration and policies and life and wars, whatever. So they have made certain presentations, and they are very important. So these were not people from India, however they have made a significant contribution to the study of history in India during the medieval period. Some important historians in Aurangzeb's times. So Aurangzeb also had some historians who were very important. Ishwar Das Nagar, Bhim Sen Saxena, Khafi Khan, Niccolo Manushi. So these are basically some people who were important during Aurangzeb's times. So if you see that there were not only historians there were historians who had written their context under the rulers, okay, for example Abdul Fazl and all these people who were there in Aurangzeb's time, but there were also foreign scholars who were periodically visiting India and writing the narrative with the perspective of the life of people, the culture of India, and the impact of different rulers, as well as the social and political and economic aspects of the entire Indian life. Okay, so their works are extremely important in decoding history.